Some sad news. More sad news. It's just a sad podcast.
It keeps on rolling.
Level 1's sad podcast. So the PS3 is officially dead. They are no longer producing units. And I didn't actually think of this at first when I first saw the story, but you do realize the PlayStation 3 actually lasted longer in production than the Wii U by a few months.
Yep. Wow.
Isn't that crazy? When you think about it, I mean, it came out in 2006.
Did it really?
PS3 has been out since 2006, November. I think it was November 17th. So, yeah. It had almost an 11-year run.
That's such a long time.
Yeah, and the 360 had a very similar
I think it
length
came
of
out
time.
at 2006 too. I don't know.
2005.
Really?
Yeah, it actually beat it by about a year. But yeah, it's honestly, while it's not my favorite console of all time, I have so many good memories from that system. I still haven't even played through the catalog of games that I have for it. But just it's kind of like when the PS3 kind of defined my let's see. If Game Boy defined my childhood, I would say PS1 kind of defined my prepubescent years, and then PS2 was basically my late teen years, and then PS3 came out when I was like about to, I want to say graduate college. So like that was very much like, this is my system for my 20s or adult years. Yeah, pretty much for my 20s. And it's been incredible. I wish Square Enix had, done more with the system and this last console generation in general. But lots of good stuff happened, in this console generation. And say what you will about, motion controls. I still think the 6-axis controls were a really good idea. And just having them being used for things like, I remember with the first Uncharted game, like just trying to like walk across a log and you'd have to like keep balance with the controller. Little things like that were nice touches that didn't just completely consume the gameplay like the Wii did. Like, it's like, oh, you gotta use it this way, you can't use it any other way, you gotta point it at the screen even to boot a game. Annoying stuff by Nintendo. PlayStation 3 is probably the reason why Blu-ray won out over HD DVD for movies. Just because you could get it for, I don't know if I don't want to say it was cheaper than some of the first Blu-ray players, but it wasn't a whole lot more, and you were getting a whole game experience, game console experience with it. So, it's my favorite. The only thing that really rubbed me the wrong way about what they do with the system is the first 2 waves of PlayStation 3 models were backwards compatible with PlayStation 2 games. Not only was it backwards compatible, it upscaled the games to HD. And then they just kind of started phasing it out. I believe starting with like the third wave of the PlayStation 3s, they went from hardware emulation. There was actual like PlayStation 2 hardware built into the PlayStation 3. Then they switched over to software emulation, and I think it didn't run as many games. Like, it lost some compatibility doing that, and then they just took it out altogether. And I know why they did it. They did it so that they could actually turn around and sell HD versions of Devil May Cry, God of War, Jak and Daxter, like all these big PS2 hits. Yeah, that was definitely planned. That wasn't a mistake. Oh, we didn't even know that we were, taking out a feature that everyone loves, backwards compatibility, and making you go out and buy the HD versions of these games if you wanted to play them on your PlayStation 3. Yeah, we had no idea. It's like, no, gamers aren't dumb. Most of us. Anyway. But yeah, that drove me crazy when they did that. And there was no other reason than we want to make it cheaper and we want to sell HD versions. And I know they're a business, I know they have to make money, and I know that currently PlayStation's really one of the only things that Sony actually has going for it that's making them money. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, it was a real shame because that was cool. Having a PlayStation 3 that played PS1, PS2, and PS3 games. Now we can't even get, like, PlayStation 2 emulation on the PlayStation 4. They say it's too hard, yet they have downloadable PS2 games on it. And they have downloadable PS2 games on the PlayStation 3. So you know it works. It can actually work if they really wanted to, but they just never wanted to.
They want to keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward, and oh my goodness, like, I can't stand, and you know what, if anyone actually leaves a comment on this video, it's probably going to be this comment, but I would see so many times online, who buys a brand new console to play their old library of games? That's not the only reason you buy the new console. Of course you buy the new console to play the new games, but not everyone has TVs with several different, inputs on them anymore, especially with like the newer TVs. I know from experience that the newer TVs have fewer and fewer HDMI ports. You're lucky if you get a component port in there. And it's just getting harder and harder to connect multiple things to your TV. So with that being said, if you want to dig out your old PS2 or whatever, you'd have to like set that up separately, and when it's just like, why? I could just pop this in and play it on my PS3. It was a dumb decision. I'm still, as you can tell, I'm still a bit sore about it. But I don't think you ever owned a PS3, did you?
Nope. The last PlayStation console well, not really me personally owned, but just my family owned, was a PlayStation 2. My brother has a PlayStation 4, but he doesn't really play it, which makes me sad because he has really good games for it, and he doesn't touch them.
No, because he's too busy with League.
No, not even that. He plays a Final Fantasy game that's on his phone. And he has Final Fantasy 15. I think he's played it for like an hour. Doesn't that just make me want to cringe?
Oh,
this is the worst thing in the world.
Is it Mobius Final Fantasy?
I don't know. It's some like recently new Final Fantasy game.
Probably Mobius. I mean, there are reasons to play that game, but I can't.
If you're on the
can't get into it.
I think I've already talked about this, but like if you're on the toilet, like
sure,
phone games are like, who wants to just? I know that like 30 years ago, people just sat on the toilet, just did their business.
But I know what you mean. If given a choice between shutting my mind off and watching a YouTube video on my phone, or digging out my 3DS to play Kingdom Hearts 3D on the toilet, I'm gonna go with the YouTube video or a quick round of Pac-Man on my phone.
Yeah, no one should play their 3DS on the toilet.
We're not speaking from experience now.
No, I absolutely played Pokemon Sun on the toilet.
Of course! Why not?
Oh, yeah.
It's not weird.
No.
Not weird at all. But it had an amazing run. They wanted it to run for, have a 10-year lifespan, and 10-year lifespan it had. Same thing with the PS2. And PS1 had a abnormally long run. They haven't been really releasing many games for it lately, but that's just kind of what happens.
For PlayStation 1?
PlayStation 3.
I was going to say PlayStation 1's been dying for a while.
Hey, you never know what the homebrew community is gonna come out with, but
it's true.
Yeah, speaking of homebrew, I wonder what my PS3 can do now. Now that Sony doesn't care about it. But you had a good run, PS3. You were probably you had a rocky start with the $599. That infamous E3 presentation where they announced it for $600. And that was the beginning of what was almost the end. But Sony was able to make it cheaper, make some really good exclusives for the system that made it pretty much you had to have it. Something I've always loved about Sony, Nintendo kind of gets criticized occasionally for being too kid-friendly, too family-friendly. And then Microsoft, my personal criticism of it, and I'm sure other people have, but it's too shooter-happy. It's too, like, aliens versus humans. Like, it's like Halo started this thing where it's like, basically, you got Xbox if you love to play online and shoot people. Like, that was what it specialized in. Sony can do both and more. Like, that's what I've always loved about it, is that you can, on the PlayStation platform, you get pretty much anything you want on it. They've got the kid games, they've got the alien shooters, and everything else in between.
But see, with the 360, all you needed was Halo. That's all.
And hey, that's a perfectly valid opinion. I'm just saying, if your tastes are a bit varied, that's what I would always tell people when they would ask me, like, should I get a 360 or a PS3? It's like, do you like playing more than shooters and third-party games? If yes, get a PlayStation. If not, if you want to go with that, okay, get a 360.
PlayStation definitely had better RPGs. Oh, well, no. 360 had some.
It had some.
Fable 3 was really fun.
Fable 3? I thought that was one that everyone hated.
I loved Fable 3.
You may be in a small group on that.
Maybe that's my Sonic 06. I don't know.
Touché, sir. Touché.